Hello and welcome to the Tshepishow, pun absolutely intended, the podcast where we talk about the things that nobody wants to talk about, the uncomfortable truths of life, all for the sake of growth and self-actualization, bettering your human interactions, one podcast at a time. It's going to be uncomfortable, but you will grow. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome your host, Tshepishow Kongo.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 15 of the Tshepishow. Thank you so much for the wonderful feedback on my previous one. I know you guys absolutely love Pum, but we'll see if we do a part 2 or a part 3 or whatever. But yeah, anyways, on this week, we're going to be talking about a very important principle that I hold dear to myself. I came across a certain individual, my husband's friend, Mbulelo Mnguni. I hope I'm saying it right. You Zulu people don't come for me. Yeah, so we were chilling with him the other day and we were talking about principles. And I was like, sheesh, this guy is quite hectic on his principles. And I was like, I have to have you on the show. And I asked him to come. So without any further ado, let's welcome Mr. Mbulelo Mnguni, who is a businessman. Hey, Mbulelo.
Hi, how are you, Tshepi?
I am good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Anytime. Thank you so much for
Your
coming.
show.
Thank you. Dude, listen, I think you need to tell everyone what we were talking about the other day, without, of course, divulging too much, but just to give context of like why I felt like you needed to come to the show.
Well, the topic of the day is integrity. And I think it also boils down to beliefs, most importantly. The old English saying that, if you don't believe in something, you fall for anything. So at some point in your life, you need to stand for something or believe in something and be loyal to something. When we sat down the other day, I had a personal domestic issue, of which, without getting too much details, but it's just a basic principle in a relationship that others may see minor, but for me, it's just a no-go. And I'll never be in any way disrespected, regardless of how much I love you. And that is where I think you picked up the strength of integrity with so many things that had been built throughout the relationship, but just one minor thing ended it all. And that is because I respect myself, I love myself, and I put myself first in everything that I do. Reason being that if I don't love myself to the fullest, I'm not expecting the next person to do so. So if I don't draw the line or where my boundaries are, any other person can always, just do as they please. But getting back to the topic at hand, integrity, it's just ensuring that you stick to your values. You don't compromise them. Yes, we are faced with different situations as we progress through life, but the most important part is knowing who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, knowing when to walk away when things don't bring you peace. That's in business, that is in life in general, that is in friendships, it's also in relationships. So it boils down to having one foundation on your life, on how you go about and the values that you uphold to navigate your way through life. We all acquire different survival skills as we grow. So I think that is one of my biggest strengths. Yes.
Yo, no, that was so beautiful. Like, I actually wish women were like this, because I feel like us as women, we're so forgiving. We want to give a second chance, a third chance, a fifth chance,
Understandably so, and that is normal. It's not just for women, it's just humans in general. I mean, look at the history of this country. Our own people have been so forgiving. But that's not what I'm here for. Forgiveness is a part of life. And don't get me wrong, whoever does me wrong, I forgive you, but I cut off from you. Not that I've got anything against you. I've seen the quality that I don't like, therefore let me step away. I've forgiven you, don't think I'm holding any grudges. No, I do not do that. I just protect my peace by all means necessary. If anybody disturbs that, not in a bad way. Let's part ways.
Sheesh. I think it's a bit hectic. I mean, I told Mbulelo that I didn't necessarily agree with like everything, but I was just like amazed at how you were like so uncompromising on your standards, because I'm also like that, you know, like I don't bend and I don't, but I think sometimes obviously I feel like God has had to do work in me, so now I have to like extend more grace. I have to be like, you know, more like kind, and I, you know, always have to take other people into consideration, you know. I just want to read the definition of integrity. So integrity is the practice of being honest and showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. In ethics, integrity is regarded as the honesty and truthfulness or accuracy of one's actions. I feel like this is the one quality that, you know, it always affects people. If you don't have integrity, it always affects the next person. So I think that's why it's like, for me, it's like such a big deal, you know, even in small things like being on time. Mbulelo. We're laughing, yeah.
The most important part with integrity, which falls part of the first part of what you just read, having morals, having principles, and sticking to them. In the day and age that we live in, people are willing to do a lot of things to progress, to get rich quick, or to get their own ambitions move forward, or put in place first. Where am I coming from with that? Your closest friend, you know, is willing to say, hey, listen, I don't like him. If you're going to give me money for this deal for me to cut him out, hey man, I'm going to do it. You find a lot of those, and that is fine. Those are people and their own values and their own morals, and
or lack thereof.
One thing I've come to learn throughout life, hence I instill my morals and my principles so much, is that there's a time for everything. There's no shortcuts through life. When your time has come, your time has come. Be it that you're going to try bypass it by getting rid of somebody else, or, you know, betraying whoever. When your time has come, you will get what is due to you. You're not going to fast track it, because I mean, fast wealth, fast results. We've seen people at their peak losing everything. Not that we wish it upon them, but like I said, when your time has come, it could be just as quick, because the time has come. So what people, or our generation, lacks the most is understanding that there's a time for everything, which, I mean, being a church going and a believer in yourself, you know what Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1 to 8 says, which is, there's a time for everything. You know, there's a time for harvest, there's a time for planting, and that is the true foundation of understanding what integrity is, because you remain loyal, remain consistent, knowing full well that you're working towards a goal, and it will come when the time is right. Energy is always moving.
No, I absolutely love that. I was just about to say that you actually did quote Ecclesiastes and Proverbs that also talks about quick wealth, you know. Speaking of scripture, I just want to quote a few. Proverbs 10 verse 9, it says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. Sheesh. I think that's also one thing that's always scared me, you know, that even if I do something, even if people don't find out, God knows, and one way or another, like it'll always get found out. Like I had this thing where I was talking about a situation and things that I felt like were just not right in the church, and that people were just not living righteously or not doing the right things, which I felt like it's not acceptable. Like rather step down from that position of ministry than to occupy that place and keep doing that, right? So then I was like, I'm going to talk about this, right? People were like, but no, you can't talk about what's happening in the church. And I'm like, but why? Because we're supposed to be living in integrity anyway. Like at any given moment, I really believe if Jesus comes or we shine a light into your organization and into your church or whatever, like things should still be fine because you're living in integrity, not because someone is watching. Well, someone is watching, that is God. But you know, so I think we also have like a a fiduciary duty, like to ourselves and to the people. Like obviously not everybody's going to be investigating what the church does with their money or auditing a pastor's lifestyle and that kind of thing. But I think it's very important to have like integrity, you know, like don't wait for people to start talking about things. Like just live in light, and in that way you have nothing to protect. Like, you know, should people say stuff, should we look into your finances or whatever, things will be absolutely fine.
Okay, can I kindly ask you to read that verse again?
Sure. Proverbs 10 verse 9, it says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out.
And my sentiments on that, the seat of judgment is not ours, it's God. So whoever may be, as you're explaining the church situation, may be doing whatever, it's between them and God. And when they sleep at night, we have a conscience.
But what if it affects people?
You like it or not, we all have a conscience. Now, going back to that verse, if you know you have done things honestly and you have done things the correct way and you stuck to the basic principles of life of respecting others, loving others, not cheating, not lying, not stealing, you have nothing to worry about. You can easily walk into a mall without a problem. You can go to a club without a problem. Wherever it is you want to go, you're free because nothing is holding you bondage. Now, if you know you've done a few people wrong or this and this has happened, you don't have freedom. You don't have security because you're always watching over your shoulder. And that is lacking integrity because a lot of people think, you know, just cutting corners will be quick and easy, but then you don't have freedom to do as whatever it is that you want. If you know your heart is pure, you know you sleep peacefully at night, you're not going to have some conversations with God every night like, yo, homeboy, I'm sorry. You know you've mastered the basic foundations of life and how to go about with it. So therefore, the best way for you to continue is to ensure that you stick to your principles. You don't fall for anything. You know, if I like black tea, regardless of where I am, I'm having black tea with no milk. And that is just me. 1 teaspoon of sugar, not because now there's a few dignitaries, I'm going to change and say, hey, I want Earl Grey tea. With, I don't know, whatever it is you want to add to it. The most important part is knowing yourself. And the journey of self-discovery is very personal. It's a life-changing experience. But you have to be honest with yourself. It's not nice. You have to do a lot of introspection and know what it is that works for you. So regardless of wherever you may go, people know that you stand for a certain value. People know that, you know, this is who you are. And your friends or family members are understanding. I'll just make an example. I haven't touched alcohol since 2012. I'll still go out. I'll still party. I'll still be with everyone and enjoy that environment, but I just won't touch alcohol. And everybody knows. And they respect that because they know that my discipline comes from a decision I've made. I'll stick it through hell or high water. That is who I am.
Just like us. I remember you also said, what is it? You prefer not to drink, so you're always sober so you can deal with your problems or something like that. So you can face them head on.
That needs a mentally strong person. A lot of people fall into alcohol when they're facing problems. A lot of people just drink for fun. It's nice. But to deal with everything that life throws at you with a sober mind, it needs a mentally strong person. It's the reason why you've got so many people committing suicide and they have mental health issues because they don't have the capacity or they haven't strengthened the foundation of understanding who they are and how to deal with problems. So the easiest thing, let me get that quick fix of a drug, let me get a bit of alcohol, go party, come back, sleep, wake up and go to work, as long as I don't deal with the demon that's facing me. So when you have to deal with that demon, I mean, you really have to face it and conquer it and overcome it. And the more you conquer your demons and you overcome them, the more confident you are in your morals, because you know that if I stick to this, regardless of who says what, even if people don't like me, but like I said, energy is always moving. People may laugh at you today. 3-4 years later, what they were laughing at and the decisions that you took are actually beneficial to you. You know, you have a lot of kids or people we grow up with. I mean, even in high school, there's that smart kid that you never really like, and you're always making fun of him. Oh, you're a geek, you don't have any girls, you can't get a girl. All those petty things. As boys, I went to an all-boys school, so it makes it, a bit interesting. But when you see their lives after, you're like, okay, you know what? He stuck through regardless of what people were saying to him, and these are the results. So if you look back at all the people who are making fun of him, some of them are working in restaurants. They were the big rugby jocks at school, but life has, led them into that. Not that we wish that upon anyone, but everybody does have their time. So when the opportunity comes for you to prove who you are, do it. And do it with an earnest and an open heart.
No, I absolutely love that. Another verse I want to read, Proverbs 11 verse 3. It says, the integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. I think it's everything that you've literally just said now.
It's also very linked to the previous verse that you had just read.
Proverbs has a lot of stuff on integrity, guys. I think it's just that one quality.
It's a lot of guidance on life in general as a whole.
Yeah. Also dealing with other people as well, because you remember when you decide to not have integrity, it always affects somebody else. Just before we recorded, we're talking about the security guards that the other day we bought this guy cooks. Well, we just always drop off stuff there, and then we're just thinking flip. But then this guy, what happens in the situation where maybe, I don't know, heaven forbid, I report that this guy is doing something to me, or that kind of thing. And then the security guard will nah, but this is that nice guy that always used to drop off what, which is what I believe was also been happening in our country. Is that the people are friends with the cops and that kind of thing, and therefore you can't even report a crime anymore because this person is a nice guy and you'll never do that according to
within reason. Because I'll just touch on the example that you just brought forward.
Sure.
Security guards can make your life a living hell. Regardless of where you are, security guards can make your life a living hell. So if you don't respect them, you won't even get into any state. They will be there. During COVID, they're the new doctors.
Actually.
Exactly, they're the new police officers.
Checking your temperature.
So what's more important is if it goes back into I'll look at it from the business perspective of the quid pro quo. You look after me, I look after you. So on those grounds, and we'll be more specific on the security guard aspect, if this guy, if you don't look after him, like I said, they can make your life very difficult. If ever you have a problem, he won't bother listening to you. You are not a priority. You have not built that relation with him. And there's sometimes a very thin line between looking after our own people in the communities that we now live in, because the generation that we come from is very fortunate. We speak good English, we financially stable, we're fine. We may face a few issues, but it's all part of growing up. And like I said to you, security is maybe you live in an estate and this man is at the gate. Be nice to him, because at a time when, I'm not saying buy him, be nice to him, because at some point you're going to need them. You have an issue, or even somebody's following you. He's just going to look at you. This one's always rude. He doesn't even greet. You also learn to understand that you have to respect people from the lowest level in classes to the highest level in positions and positions of authority. So integrity plays a role, but a very thin role, as to how you deal with life and people as a whole.
Sure.
Because if being loyal or knowing how to respect people, regardless of how strict you are with your morals, there are a lot of people who have qualities of integrity but are racist. And they will say, by no means necessary will I ever deal with a black person. By no means necessary will I ever have an Indian work for me. By no means necessary will I ever, date a white person. That person isn't, has the qualities of a person who's got integrity. And they stick to their morals and their values. They stand for what they believe in. But the mindset behind it, what is their agenda? That's what you always need to ask. You may be loyal to a killer, and you are ride or die for that person. You are loyal to that person. The values you uphold constitute the definition that you gave of integrity, but in the sense of places of darkness. And that's what you also need to learn to differentiate. Are you looking for the qualities in the person, or how they respond to society as a whole?
But I think then that means we can't do integrity without God or integrity without love.
Hence, I say to you that you also need to define your integrity. Are you talking about the person as an individual, regardless of what belief they come from, or when you're drawing God into it and the principles that the Bible teaches us?
For me, everything, I'll always forever define it from the word. So I'll always have the word as my guidance. But I think it's also interesting to just see how integrity plays a role in different,
No, you must be open-minded about that, and it's something you can't take lightly, because we live in a world that has got so many people in it, people of different beliefs, people of different backgrounds, and how their loyalty comes into whatever situation that they may be facing.
Let's talk about integrity in business. Tell me about that. Like, what does it look like? Why is it important? I have a good friend of mine, what's his name? Nikom Timkulu. If you're listening, hello. He always said that, what is he saying? He was talking about how you can almost like spot a business person, and he was saying that it's always the people that can't keep their word that you just know that this person is not in business, because in business you have to be a person of your word. You can't say something and not keep your end of the stick. What are your views on that?
There's a huge difference in business from the corporate perspective and business from the entrepreneurship perspective. Corporate is a structure that's already set up, has got systems in place. An entrepreneur is a person who's doing the long hours, trying their level best, forming new relations, and in that process, your intentions are good, but things aren't working out in your favor. And that is normal. So for the next person who's set up, who's in a safe haven, it's easy for them to say this person does not stick to time. You may be rushing to a meeting, you don't even have a car, you have to take a taxi, or there's an Uber driver, you're still waiting for an Uber.
Yeah.
A person can cut you off on time, saying you are not on time, not understanding that, you don't have a company credit card that is just going to book your flight for you to attend that meeting, or just ensure that you are there on time, or you have a car, maybe it was a hand-me-down, and before you start it you have to sort of give it a kickstart. And those situations happen. So integrity in business, on the corporate perspective, everything is according to book. There's no leeway, therefore it is integrity or nothing. Then it boils down to, when I say 12 o'clock, I want you to be there, 5 to 12, already preparing or just having a quick chat before the meeting. But 12 o'clock is 12 o'clock. And in those situations, things are done above board, things are done according to book. Therefore, it becomes imperative to know that integrity runs the show. Your loyalty runs the show. Your basic understanding of being upright and keeping to your word. If you say you're going to send a document before close of business, make sure it's there before close of business. That is the corporate side in business. The entrepreneurship side, it's a whole different ballgame, because like I said, you deal with so many things that corporate has already mastered, and you are now setting up the structure yourself on how it should run. So therefore, now and again, a few of those qualities will lack or drop, because you have to teach people from scratch as to how to push your dream and make it a reality, because all entrepreneurs are that. They're people who have taken their dream or things they're passionate about and made them be the structure that's going to bring money. Profit is always the main end goal, but also to make a difference in whatever sector that they may be in.
But we should all strive to be people of excellence. So
that it is
because I think
important.
Even also as an entrepreneur who's not in corporate, even you starting as an individual, before you get to that place where you're employing people, you can already establish the culture, because now it's you. It's on you. So everybody else that you bring into the organization, they will take after you, because they only know what you're teaching them, and they're modeling what you, the CEO of our organization, is leading us into.
And hence, I'll keep rephrasing that as the conversation goes. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything. You have to believe in something. Otherwise, you'll just fall for anything. You have to stand for something and believe in something. I mean, we are all leaders in one way or another. So, lead by example. At some point, in the entrepreneurship perspective, there's more leniency than there is in corporate.
Or you guys are creating a leniency. But anyways, let's talk about corruption. Like briefly, the other day we had a guest here. I'm not going to mention him, but he said something very interesting. And he said that, in South Africa, we don't see corruption as corruption anymore because it's kind of like become such a norm. And I was taken aback by that statement, because I actually I processed everything he said, and I was like, do you remember?
I'll play the devil's advocate. What's your definition of corruption?
I didn't Google that one beforehand.
What's your definition of corruption?
I would say a lack of integrity.
Okay.
But on a scale that it affects the masses. Okay, I think at any given point, lack of integrity will affect someone. But I think with corruption, it includes embezzlement. I almost said entanglements, like financial entanglements, like where we just we're dealing treacherously.
If you go on Google,
we're not,
as their definition, they say dishonest or fraudulent conduct by those in power, typically involving bribery.
Yes.
That's the first definition. The second one is the process by which a word or expression is changed from its original state to one regarded as an erroneous or debased. So corruption, and you want to talk about it in this country.
I just want to touch on it.
It's a norm, as our guest had said. It is a norm because people have taken it to Latin terms of scratch my back, I scratch yours. Regardless of what it takes, do it for me. I'll just owe you a favor in return. Is the integrity there?
That's good.
Hence I said to you earlier, you need to define the line of integrity, because if I'm doing you a favor, I'm doing it from the goodness of my heart because I'm loyal to you and I'm standing upright for you. Now, as to what that favor includes me to do is a whole different story, but the perspective of integrity lies with you, because I'm doing it and I'm loyal to you, and I will push by all means necessary to make sure that what you've requested you get. As to how I did that, that's a whole different story. Because my values probably have to be compromised just to make sure that you're happy. So touching on corruption, I think that's the basic part of it, that it's people helping themselves, dropping their values to ensure that the next partner or the next person is happy.
And I think we need to do something about it, because even with the whole bribery thing as well, I mean, something as simple as getting a license in this country, and I think you asked this question on, was it Sunday, whatever, but how do you get about getting your license in this country and that kind of thing. And I'm like, personally, I believe each individual has a personal responsibility, because the more we keep feeding the system, then the more we're also training the officers that it's okay. So now when they come across me, they're gonna want that because this is what they've been experiencing. Everybody else has been willing to pay that price to get it, and now they're coming to me, and I'm like, no, I'm not paying that.
and that's because they'll frustrate the process, because they just want that small, cold drink, so they say. I don't have much to say because I've never liked getting into politics. Politics and religion are probably the most venomous arguments you'll ever get into this world, regardless of where you are. Corruption in this country, can I leave that for politicians and stick to the business perspective?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I respect the government of the day. I come in from the business perspective.
I believe in respecting as well. Yeah.
So the corruption part, I think my basic understanding I've highlighted.
Is that it?
Is
that all you're gonna say? Okay, but here's what I need, like, even to the people in your world, I think the people in your circles, if we just push integrity, but I guess again, like I said, I think we can't do it without God, because if we do it without our God, then we get to that point where we're too loyal to a certain thing we've agreed to do, even if it compromises.
When you're loyal to God, He will open doors for you, regardless of what it takes.
Yes.
When you rely on people change. You can sleep today feeling good. You wake up in the morning, you're like, listen, this is it, I'm done. And there are people who wake up in the morning and resign, and you are hoping that this person promotes you. Now you have to build a relationship with the next person, and prove yourself to that person. So hence I said, if God is with you, or whatever source of power that you believe in, then you are going to be fine. But God is the center of everything
that we do.
Yes.
No, I definitely agree. Proverbs 28 verse 6 says, better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Or you don't want to answer? That's also fine.
No, I will answer that.
Okay.
You find yourself at times where you prefer having nothing and having peace, or having everything and dealing with all the problems that come with it. But you trust God to take you through those problems.
I think you mentioned this the other day as well. You said you let go of some certain deals because you don't want to lose your peace.
Yes, for me the most important part is the peace.
Wasn't worth it. Yeah.
You can have a lot of money, you can go into a deal that's going to bring you 10, 20 million rand, but it won't give you peace. You'll be investigated, you'll have this person's trying to, bypass you. It's just so much.
Helicopters are coming into your balcony.
So the most important part is I'm home, peace, I've got a beautiful view that I wake up to in the morning. I have no issues. I can walk, I can go to the shop, I can drive my car. I mean, it's personalized, so everybody can see this is me. I'm not hiding from anyone. So that is what integrity gives you. Peace and freedom.
I love that. Proverbs 20 verse 7, it says, the righteous who walks in his integrity, blessed are his children after him. I think this was one of my favorite, because I think also what we forget is the way we live our lives will always affect the next generation.
Definitely.
So I think also children, they learn integrity or a lack of integrity or corruption from their parents. And sometimes you're not even aware that it's a corruption because it's just something that's always been done.
I wouldn't necessarily say from their parents, because keep in mind that a child, from the time they start first grade up until matric, so by the time when you're about 6, 7, till the time you're about 18, 90% of your time is with friends.
Unless if you're homeschooled, but yes. I know we don't do that here.
Yes.
So common in Africa.
So the foundation, if the parents haven't mastered that growth stage properly for their children, then their friends become their influence over their lives. And keep in mind that when you are there at school, you've got different experiences from everyone. People have different backgrounds. The one may be coming from an abused home, the one may be coming from a loving home, the next one might be coming from a single grandmother who's raising the child on a pension. All these people coming together, and it's usually the most broken one who's going to influence over all of them, and changes the perspective
of everyone else.
Exactly. Even if you know your values, you know who you are and how you manage them, the most important part then becomes how your friends influence you. I mean, there's an old saying that show me your friends, I'll tell you your future, because they are the ones that determine where you are headed. If you come from a good family, the next thing I see you're smoking wunga or whatever the case may be, it's usually
but anyways
it's usually from the influence and from the friends that you have and the people that you keep around. So it's very important to ensure that when you're passing on to the next generation, pass on values that will uphold them, pass on values that when a young boy becomes a man, he will say, my father taught me this, or this is what I learned. Or sometimes you're fortunate enough to say, listen, I saw this happening at home, I want nothing of it. So I'm creating my own legacy moving forward. Therefore, the job becomes twice as hard, but it's still achievable.
But even given the friend context, it's still parents. It's those friends' parents that are influencing this kid. Who's going to influence your kid?
So when they come home, that short afternoon after school, whatever it is, parents are fighting, they drunk, or whatever the case may be, that influence psychologically affects the child, who then takes it to school and passes it on.
Yeah. So I think it's very important that we all just strive to be people of integrity. James 4 verse 17 says, whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin. One of my faves. Like, I absolutely love this. And then Luke 16 verse 10 says, one who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. I think
that also comes in with where it says too much. It's in Luke, too much is given, much is expected. So when an opportunity like that, where God blesses you with something and you cannot give back as you had promised, how are you expecting him? If he gives you 100,000 rand and he says take 10% or take 20,000 and go buy something for homeless people and do 1, 2 and 3, and you're like, no, but my bills are this high. You're like, okay, it's fine, take that money, but how am I supposed to trust you with more money
if you can't even do that with the bare minimum
basic principles? And sometimes, I mean, that's just a big example. It could be you're getting your first job and all I'm asking of you is, donate 10%. I'm not even saying take it to the church. The least you can do is just buy a family some groceries for this month, and that's what I'm asking from you. 500 rand, 1,000 rand, and that is all that I'm asking of you. And God is testing you with the small things to see if you're going to be able to deliver when he blesses you with more, or when you get promoted at work and you've got more responsibilities, there's more money coming into your way and your salary is in a different tax bracket.
Love that. So guys, in closing, I'm just going to read 2 last verses and then I'm going to ask Mbulelo to just give us some closing remarks. Titus 2 verse 7, it says, show yourself in all aspects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity and dignity. Psalm 25 verse 21 says, may integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. I absolutely love that. Guys, the word is a beautiful guide. Mbulelo, any closing remarks?
In that closing verse, the one thing it does highlight for me, which I think I should share, it's not easy upholding values of integrity in a world that is so dark, that is so crooked. There's still light at the end of the tunnel. It is not easy. It's going to take a lot for you mentally and spiritually to stand for those values, to be guided and ask God for guidance, saying, listen, this is what I want to do. But obviously I'm in a room where everybody may be in disagreement of that. I just need your guidance in ensuring. Hence I say it's not easy, and you'll find yourself in situations where you're the only one that believes in something, but believe in yourself. Because
I've been in situations like that.
Exactly.
I'm always standing alone.
Which is fine. It's normal. But, a couple of weeks later, people then come to understand. And if you're fortunate enough, some of them are going to come to you and apologize, saying, listen, I may have misread the situation or misjudged you, but you were right. Things have turned out to be X, Y, and Z. Therefore, I encourage to the listeners saying, listen, stand for what you believe in. Your time will come. And if you keep taking the shortfalls now, that's God testing you to see if you are there to honor what He's going to give you. Because He can put you in a situation where 100 people are listening to you right now and you are misleading them. But if you lead them in the right way, you get an invite to, somewhere else where 1 million people watch what you just said. The minor things. So as the second to last verse that you said, in the small things, do good, be great. He'll be able to trust you with the bigger things.
Absolutely love that. Guys, let us be people of integrity. I don't get a lot of things right, but this one, by God's grace, of course, I don't claim to have it all together. It's only because of God's grace. But being a person of integrity, oh man,
it's a beautiful journey.
It's a beautiful thing, and there's always a reward. I believe really God will reward you. It doesn't matter what you do, whether it's in relationships. You sow good seeds, and then you will reap great seeds. I've shared my testimony, I've shared my story. Or maybe I need to share it more in depth, but either way, God has been faithful. What I've sown, God has given me even more, just by trusting Him and being faithful. So I just want to encourage you guys, let's be people of integrity, even in the small things like time. And then even if you're late, so if you say, okay, let's do 2:00, but then you can see you're late, like, okay, just let the person know, it's just these like small little things. Common courtesy. Just let the people know, like, look, I'm running a bit late. Or if you scheduled something and then you can't make it, or maybe if you said yes in the heat of the moment and you realize that you can't fulfill that vow that you made, the Bible actually tells us this as well, then just tell the people, no, I can't, I know I said I can and I'm sorry. Always count the cost before you agree. Don't be so quick to say yes and then go back on your word. Be a person of integrity. Read the book of Job, guys. Like, I love how Job was such a person of integrity that even God recognizes integrity from the heavens. He's like, look, who's telling Satan, have you considered my servant Job, who is upright in all his ways? And even his wife was like, dude, just curse God and die. And he's like, no, I will not do such things. So I hope you guys have integrity as strong as Job and as Jesus Christ, or even like much, much better. Mbulelo, thank you so much for joining us. I think that was a great chat. I think it was like a good broadening of horizons and just trying to show everybody how one small thing or something can be a big thing, because it becomes who you are at the end of the day, like, because integrity is the sum of the little things that you do on a day-to-day, whether people are watching or not. I think that's what I've also had to learn, like being a Christian and just living upright and, living a holy life. Like, it's what nobody sees, like nobody knows that Pum and I don't drink alcohol, but we know that, and the people that are around us. But it's just like the small things that nobody sees, that we're just minding our own business, But Mbulelo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for allowing me, for giving me the platform to talk. And I think in closing, it's just for people to know, never settle below their standards. Know what you believe in, know where you are, and just stick to that.
Stick to your principles.
Stick to your principles.
Be guided by your principles.
Hell or high water. Know what you believe in. And as painful as it may be sometimes when people are screaming in your ear, just be at peace with yourself. Because you'll sleep better at night.
Ooh, one thing I forgot to mention, guys, just also in marriage as well, because it's like also still an integrity thing, like being able to commit to your vows and remain in your vows is also part and parcel. It's part of it, because like I said, you don't just wake up and become a person of integrity. It's the sum of the little decisions you make, the decision to not cheat, the decision to not I don't know, whatever, etc. I can't believe I forgot to add marriage. How did we forget marriage, Mbulelo? Like, what?
That's for the next one.
I just forgot marriage. Like, guys, that's like a big deal, because this one is like with a relationship that's gonna like
I think
the longest after Christ.
That is for the episode 2.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot it. But yes, guys, integrity will affect everything. It will affect your spouse as well. It will affect the marriage. So be a person of integrity. Until next time. Bye.
You've been listening to The Tshepishow, the #1 podcast for people who want to get their ish together and take their life to the next level. Loved this episode? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You can also share your thoughts and leave a voice message. Thank you. Until next Sunday.